everybody. It's time for the podcast. I'm worn out, Grant. I think that what I got today is
you had divine inspiration there. It was like a televangelist.
I was doing my best as Bruce Buffer, Michael Buffer.
I don't know, Jimmy Buffer.
Jimmy Buffer. The guy who does the "Let's Get Ready to Rumble" at the beginning of.
I thought it was
Bruce
Vince McMahon
Buffer.
Or something.
No. It's
Who's
one
that?
of the. It's like so one of them.
Let's get ready to rumble.
I think it's Buffer. Somebody Buffer. Let's try Bruce Buffer. I know that it's like one. There's actually two of them, and one of them does it for like boxing, and then the other one does it for like UFC or something like that.
But it's not the WWF dude.
No, I don't believe so. There's Bruce Buffer. Oh my God, that guy is incredible. Michael Buffer is the so he's the yeah, I had it right.
The Buffer Bros.
The Buffer Bros. Well, yes, welcome everybody. As always, I'm Jeff. And
I'm Grant.
Grant is here this week. We're going to talk about some general things. We're going to talk about some video game news.
We have a bunch of lighthearted news to talk about.
This is a pretty heavy episode. Yeah. But before that, and we're also going to answer questions, but before we do any of that, we're going to go ahead and start. And we've got a couple different things to talk about here, Grant, or at least a few things that came out. So, first off, how's your week been, Grant?
My week?
Good.
My week's been all right.
Anything happen? Anything good happen to you this week? You get a free for the Chipotle. They give you guacamole for free, or
what happened?
You get a second beer when you bought 2 hot dogs at the 7-Eleven, or I don't know what I don't know what you do when you're not here. In my brain, it's very odd. You're just flitting around with your baby attached to you.
I'm taking care of my baby all day during the day. I'm also trying to juggle job, work stuff. I come over here. I do a little bit of some Rage Select.
Yep.
I do a little bit of TV Dudes podcast over for the TVDudes.com.
Yeah.
Do a little stuff with the Beerists.
Yep.
That's another podcast I do.
You're a man about podcasts.
Yeah.
Like,
just gab.
I just expecting one day for the Rooster Teeth podcast, you just kick in the door and go dicks, and then just like run out or something.
Hey, I'm gonna need your desk, clear off your shit.
That's right.
Taking over here.
Yeah, you guys don't know that all podcasts actually are trademarked Grant Davis. He was the one who invented podcasts.
I'm Grant the Rooster Davis. I'm taking over Rooster Teeth.
You changed your last name to Rooster Teeth?
Yeah, Grant.
I am Grant Rooster Teeth. I own all this now.
Yeah.
That's how it works. I brought a flag.
Fuck you. Gavin and Gus, get out of here. Grant's here. Only room for one G name.
But yeah, so let's see. I guess last weekend we had our writers for the website. Daniel was in town. We hung out with him.
Got to hang out with him a bit. That was fun.
Yeah, I felt like we might have given him the wrong impression of Austin because all I did was shove beers in his hand and then take him after we drank beers to the various hippie breakfast places that are open 24 hours in town.
It sounds like you gave him a very accurate representation of Austin.
I felt really bad because he was over here on Sunday and he said he wanted to go to this really nice restaurant that's here in town, but it was going to be closing, and he decided to stay here and watch John and I record like an episode of the Super Awesome Video Game Show.
Oh yeah,
and I felt like telling him like it's just us talking. It's the exact same thing you see on the website.
It's not that riveting.
Yeah. But
right now it's riveting.
Right now it is.
You and me?
Oh, yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. But like what I'm saying is I don't feel like the people at home are missing anything by not sitting here in this room and seeing us, right?
I kind of get the appeal.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're missing the sexy Grant Musk, obviously, and my dirty socks.
It's a foul musk.
It stings.
It's please bathe musk.
What does he say in Anchorman? Oh, it's a pungent aroma. It stings the nostrils. Well, we got a couple things. So last week I finally broke down and I watched the first 2 and then the 3rd episode yesterday of the Flash TV show.
Oh, you're one up on me.
Yeah. Damn, man, I'm liking that shit.
It's great. It starts strong.
Yeah. It's totally worth watching, and I just love. I mean, man, I feel like they had to inject some dark and brooding in there. There's
sure. I mean,
dark and brooding. But
you mean with his past and his parents?
Yeah,
because all superheroes need that new origin. They have to have some tragedy in their past.
Well, I guess have we gotten to the point in society where we no longer believe? Because you know the Flash's original origin story, right? He's just working, and lightning strikes a bunch of chemicals and makes him fast.
It just happens.
Yeah, I mean, just like you got bit by a radioactive spider, or
yeah. But I get that they kind of want some backstory, and I like what they did. They had a little twist with his origin and how he is
Talk
was
around
taken
it.
in by the West family.
Yes.
I was like, oh, that's a neat little shift in the storyline. I like that.
Yeah, but I just like the fact that it's not a really gritty take, right? I feel like, I mean, I've never watched Arrow, but when I look at the pictures of Arrow,
So brooding.
it looks like very broody dude.
It's like the new the Crow or some shit.
I don't feel like Constantine is going to be a real lighthearted show.
No.
And I dig me some lighthearted superheroes, and so far it's been great. It's got just enough of that like human interest stuff on the side between Iris and him and their relationship and the dad, but it never outstays its welcome.
There's something kind of it's cute. They have a playful relationship. I like his little team of assistants there at what's that lab called?
Star Labs.
Star Labs. I like
huge thing in the DC
I know,
universe.
it's all over. But I like his little crew and the short amount of friction before it's like, yeah, we're all a team. We're all going to do this together. Yay, go team.
Yeah, I'll tell you this right now. I like his crew at Star Labs so much more than the people on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right?
And I've seen like 3 episodes. I'm just like, you got this one lady.
Gotta say, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s getting a lot better.
That's
But
what everybody keeps saying.
this second season is also strong. It's all because of the Winter Soldier. Winter
really?
Soldier came out. They fixed so much of their shit.
Yeah.
And now this season, I'm like, shit, I'm enjoying that too. It's like 2 great superhero shows that know how to have fun with their action and everything.
I guess it's just I was talking to somebody this weekend about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
you
and it
talked
was like,
to Jeff briefly about it, or Jason last week.
oh, was that okay? Yeah, and it was just the idea of going through 18 episodes for it to get good, and I'm just
no,
like,
you just want to
no.
watch like maybe the last 2 or
I mean,
3
I've actually been thinking
from
about
last
watching.
season.
Everybody's been saying that Arrow gets really good in the second season, and I'm just wondering, can you totally just skip the first season? Because
That's what I'm wondering too. 'Cause
I don't want to watch the first season.
I started watching it. It's some soap opera garbage, and people are like, "No, it's really good." I'm like, "When?"
Yeah,
So I think I'm probably gonna also do that same thing. Just jump into season 2.
you know, you could make a fortune. That's what you should do, Grant. Is you should create a consulting agency that does nothing but like, all right, give me all your scripts for season 1, right?
Yeah.
And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to burn the first 2/3 of them, and we're going to start at the back third of season 1 of every TV show where it starts to get good.
That's where we need to actually start. Jump in here,
Right.
Then you can fill out and pad some
Yeah, just-
backstory in the middle.
Yeah, flashbacks.
Start it going. Mm-hmm. That's a good call.
Yeah. Also, in superhero news, we had a trailer. The Avengers 2 trailer.
I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
It's James Spader's voice, man.
Yeah.
That guy's got such a great voice.
I feel when I watched the trailer, like it was a great trailer, got me hyped up. Unfortunately, well, there wasn't a lot in there. I mean, I guess like
It was a
very
teaser trailer, is what they
stylish,
call it, yeah.
right? But it didn't have like much dialogue. It was
No.
actually a lot of shots of mopey Avengers. That was
This is their Empire Strikes Back. So
Yeah.
as far as you not wanting dark superhero stuff, this is going to be probably as dark as it gets.
the Avengers was so like it was just the right amount of dark for me.
It was.
you know.
But I think as far as their 3-part arc, or they actually might go beyond that, but at least they want to have a dip here in order to get better in the third Avengers.
You know, the problem that I have, and I tried to explain this last week, and we're going to talk around it, so not actually a spoiler, but like there was a bunch of people last week who were putting this news. It was casting news for Cap 3 that, like in the title, they were discussing the arc from the comics that was going to be part of that.
Is that a spoiler? Like, is that what you're talking about? Like,
yeah, I don't want to.
you don't want me to even say that?
Don't say the words, actually, but like,
I don't even know if it's totally gonna necessarily be that.
But
I mean,
see,
they say they're gonna borrow from that, but they've said they're gonna borrow from other like comics for certain storylines. And they deviate quite a bit.
I guess the reason that I don't really like it all that much, and we'll have to see whether or not this turns out to be a problem, is that being kind of familiar with what that arc is in the comics, and then seeing that Avengers trailer,
Yeah.
I can make some educated guesses as to what the entire plot of Avengers 2 is going to be, and what the general theme of the Phase 3 movies is going to be, and what Avengers 3 is going to be like,
But
just from that one story arc
But you
reveal.
come from that that knowledge base. I mean,
Yeah.
but you're still going to go see it. You're not the person that they have to be even concerned about for that.
I guess the thing is that if they're...
We're the dedicated fans. We're already going to go see it because it's going to be fucking cool
Yeah, I
either
guess
way.
the thing for me is that why even reveal that that's the story arc? Because people who don't know that story arc aren't going to know what the fuck you're talking about. People who are, it's just a potential spoiler, right?
I don't know. At a certain point, they might even want to call it by that name, kind of like Captain America 2, The Winter Soldier.
Right.
3,
it's a good point.
This. And maybe it's also kind of one of those things where they want to put out that feeler and get a general sense of how the audience is reacting to kind of know how they might need to shift and shape to win over anyone who's hesitant about it.
Sure.
Or just be like, dude, we're on the right track. Fuck yeah, they love that idea.
I guess I just would have rather, I mean, if nothing else, I probably would have rather had not seen those words until after Avengers 2 was already out.
We might as well. I mean, anyone who knows
about
the comics would know about it, and anyone who doesn't, we're not spoiling anything.
I'm not. What do I say? Wait, even say it out loud. We can talk around it perfectly well.
All right, that's fine.
Let's see. All right, so Flash, Avengers, any other good stuff on TV, Mr. TV Man, or do you want to save that for your other podcast over at thetvdudes.com?
I don't mind talking about TV. I talk about it all the time. One of my favorite shows, aside from The Flash, that's a new one.
Yeah,
is this one called A to Z, and it's. I mean, did you ever watch Pushing Daisies?
No.
Well, it kind of reminds me of that in a way. It's like this. It's a meet cute romance kind of show.
Okay,
and it's got
meet cute. Oh,
it's
okay.
Just how you describe, like,
I was like a square of meat romance.
MEET.
Okay.
But that's just what you kind of call it when it's like a guy meets girl. It's a cutesy sort of like relationship, and then other stuff happens and little dilemmas, but you're rooting for them. Kind of thing.
Sure.
Pushing Daisies is another great example.
Romantic comedy.
Yeah, it's a rom-com.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess as well. It's something about this. It's just it knows its balance of humor. I think it's got a great cast. It's got a great supporting cast. It's of course following that trend of the chubby bearded best friend that like Zach Galifianakis and Seth Rogen seem to like make the mandatory go-to in all sidekick storylines.
Are one of those guys is in the show, or
no?
They smooshed Seth Rogen and Zach Galifianakis together yet to just make one person, and then like Jonah Hill. They could
the leads are Ben Feldman, who plays Ginsburg in Mad Men, in some of the later seasons, and this girl named Kristen Milotti, who was the mom from How I Met Your Mother. If that's not a spoiler,
right.
I hope
she's adorable.
Yeah, and so it's got them. I just think it's one of those shows that kind of took me off guard because I'm not like big into rom-coms really at all.
What's that one with McNulty and the shark face
The
from
Affair.
Luther?
Yeah.
I like McNulty.
Showtime or Cinemax? I think Showtime.
Yeah, I like McNulty and I like that chick from Luther, but like the trailers that I kept seeing for it, I was just like, wait, so they're just fucking? Is that all the show is?
I heard it kind of plays on perception as well. It's from both of their point of view. So you see like how from her point of view, this guy's like really smooth and charming and has all his shit together, and there's something so animalistically attractive about him.
Right.
And then from like his perspective, you see he's kind of this bumbling, insecure goofball. But they sort of like situation ends up that they end up having an affair, and I guess there's some other mystery and some other shit that's kind of going on in the background with it.
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of hear mixed things.
Split the screen in half, and they show the bumbling on one side and the
reminds me
smooth
of like
on the other side.
that X-Files episode, where Mulder and Scully are talking about the vampire encounter. It's got Luke Wilson in it.
No, and it's like been a long time.
It's a comedy because like Luke Wilson's in there, and from Scully's perspective, he's like this really handsome, smooth-talking dude, and then Mulder comes in and starts talking about him. And he's this just country bumpkin, bucktooth, like hillbilly, like goofball, and she's like, "Come on, dude, he wasn't like that at all." He's like, "You really were attracted to that?" Fun story.
Well, I tell you what, why don't we go ahead and get to the news, Grant?
Let's do it.
We got a lot to talk about in the news today.
We do.
And I've got this Wikipedia page for Michael Buffer up. So first news story, Michael Buffer is a guy.
He's a sexy, dapper man. He knows how to wear a tux.
Yeah. If I someday in life, Grant, I want my Jack Donaghy closet full of tuxedos where it's just like, it's 5 o'clock, put on the tux.
Gotta put on my tux.
But no, our actual first story is not Michael Buffer. It's it's just all right. There was a trailer last week for this game called Hatred, And it is the most 16-year-old emo trailer for a video game I think I've ever seen in my life.
It was bad. It's corny. It just seems like it's playing to all these stereotypes and tropes.
Yeah, it starts
the negative one.
Starts out with some Slipknot-looking dude with this really corny speech about how he's tired and being oppressed.
He looks kind of like Lobo.
Guns in his jacket. And
guns and grenades and knives.
Yeah, and then basically the game looks like he just goes out onto the street and starts murdering people.
Yeah, it's just a psychopath going through the city, just mercilessly killing innocent civilians.
I mean, see, here's the
problem.
This
isn't the first time. I mean, Rockstar I've seen do a game like this.
Okay,
too,
so here's the thing about Hatred is that I don't know enough about it because I looked at it and kind of laughed. I know that Jason was like really disappointed or dismayed about it, but I looked at it and kind of laughed at first because it's so stupid.
Yeah.
But it bears a lot of resemblance to games like Postal. It just seems like it's taking itself way more seriously than Postal. The other thing about it, the thing that I need to maybe know more about, is that if this is a video game and if it's just shooting people, that's a terrible fucking video game, Grant. That's an awful video game. Like, it's just...
There's no mission. I mean, I guess they'd probably have some arbitrary one, like, kill all these people and don't get caught. I mean, it's kind of like the next step from... What was that Rockstar game where you're in the mall and you're just shooting people?
You talking about State of Emergency?
State of Emergency.
Oh, God, that game is terrible.
Like, it kind of reminds me of that, except for this... really is giving into the, like you said, the emo tone as well. It's just like, oh yeah, he's wearing his trench coat. It's the trench coat mafia whole thing again.
Yeah, and there was, there was it was like a release statement from the developers talking about how like, yeah, we wanted to make a game that didn't adhere to any of these societal norms that blah. It was just like, no, dude, you're making a controversial game that's going to sell because people
they want the gimmick.
It's controversy, right?
It's just fuck these people and don't buy this dumb fucking game.
Yeah.
That's what I wish people would take that advice. People are gonna get it. Hopefully we don't have to deal with reviewing that on here.
Yeah, I don't.
It's just dumb.
I don't think it's a thing that I really have an interest in. I mean, there's an article, the actual article that we're looking at the trailer over on Engadget that I haven't read, but I can kind of suss out from the headline that's talking about like, this is not the first video game where you shoot somebody in the face and blood shoots out, right? This is not even the first video game where you harass people who are not enemies. I mean,
this is the first one that's trying to be, or at least one of the first ones I can recall, that's really trying to be in-your-face confrontational about like, yeah, we're gonna do it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I honestly think that if you don't want... I mean, it's always been kind of the... my opinion in the world, Grant, that like... If you think this shit is terrible, do everybody a favor. Don't buy it. Don't click on the trailer for it. Or maybe you click on one trailer, but don't look at it. Like, just don't give it any attention.
Don't give it attention.
And it won't sell, and then it won't be a thing.
Don't even talk about it on your podcast.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about it to tell you to not.
I'm gonna bleep out this entire, 10 minutes. It's just going to be, all right, our first news story. Boo! For just a solid 15 minutes worth of this.
No attention.
But no, it seems stupid, and there have been plenty of horrible video games like this in the past.
Yeah.
Postal was a lot less serious about it. I mean, like Postal, you could pee, and then if you pointed the pee up, it would hit you in the face, and your character would go. I mean,
so it's kind of humorous.
It was ridiculous. But
I think this isn't like a joke that you're in on with them. You're laughing at the guys who made this when you think it's funny.
Yeah.
I think the joke is that they made such a thing. I mean, not...
It just seems really... I mean, it just seems... It's not the sort of thing that I would like to, go out there and be like, there shouldn't be games like this. It's the sort of thing that we should all just fucking ignore, like we were just saying.
Yeah.
So let's stop talking about it, Grant.
Okay.
Or, I don't know, do you have anything else you feel...
No, I mean, I think we've pretty much said what we're going to say on it anyway. It's
some people were...
it's disappointing.
Some people were sending it to me saying, oh, are you guys interested in playing this? And I'm like, no, I like actual video games where... I don't shy away from games. Like one of the first games you played on the show was Payday 2. And we just shot cop after cop after cop directly in the face.
Sure.
I don't generally tend to shy away from video game violence, but this just seems dumb exploitation violence rather than a challenge.
It seems to be purposely targeting and trying to offend.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't like. It just looks like a dick move. You're just trying to rile up the
It's like the satanic panic, right?
Conservative and protective parents, and why do that?
It's like the satanic panic in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Where the heavy metal, or you would sell more albums if you put a pentagram on the cover because parents groups would boycott it, and that just made kids want it even more. That's what this feels like to me.
It's just a silly, edgy thing.
Manipulative. Well, speaking of, we actually have quite a few interesting stories this week, and this is one that I didn't tell you about, Grant, but it was a really interesting story.
Okay.
So this guy, all right, what's his name? Mike Malbec, created this game called Paranautical Activity. And
Paranautical.
he was launching it on Steam, and apparently there were some problems with the way that it was published on the Steam page or something.
Okay.
And so he got real up in arms, and then he tweeted, and I'm going to quote here, "I am going to kill Gabe Newell. He is going to die." Now, I don't know if you know who Gabe Newell is.
Yeah, he's the main Steam dude, right?
Right. But after he did that, they pulled his game off Steam and said, "Go fuck yourself. We're not putting it back on. You don't make threats at the, one of the heads of Valve, and then we're not going to market your game."
Yeah, duh. That's what I would naturally think would happen. It's like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah. At which point he tried to apologize, but they weren't interested in really listening to him. But it does bring up an interesting point, right? Mm-hmm. Which is that in the PC video game market, Steam is the 800-pound gorilla. Like, if your game isn't on Steam, in a lot of ways, you're kind of fucked, right? Because you could put it on like a Humble Bundle or something, but you're getting pennies on the dollar for that.
But you got to kiss the ring.
Right. Well,
is that the issue?
Not even necessarily that, but it becomes the sort of thing where you say, I like Steam, right? But if Steam is the way that, say, 90% of people on the PC are getting their video games, and they, for whatever reason, decide that your game is not going to be on Steam,
mm-hmm. They can control that.
They've got a big, heavy hand. They've got a lot of control over the market. So there's a good chance this guy's game is just going to completely tank, right? Because it's not on Steam. And
well, it seems like, back in our parents' generation, generations before,
mm-hmm.
if one wanted to have a business,
mm-hmm.
and they recognized that they had to conduct themselves in a certain respectable manner if they ever wanted to operate with anyone else.
Sure.
And nowadays, people think they can just spout their mouth off and say immature shit like, fuck Gabe Newell, I'm going to kill him.
Right.
And guess what? Reality check, you don't get to do that anywhere.
Yeah.
You shouldn't.
Well,
and
I
think it's good that they can do that.
I guess it's just I don't really want to seem like I'm condoning or condemning.
I
this
get
entire thing.
your point of the bigger implications that
right.
they are the gatekeeper, the keymaster. To
I guess I wonder if let's see.
Are there no other competitors to Steam?
Oh shit! Okay, I didn't even read this part of the update, but apparently this is on Joystick. Malbec stated that he's leaving Paranautical Activity developer Code Avarice. He's leaving the company that made the game.
Oh, he's quitting so that they can at least maybe try and recover?
Yeah, he says he sold his half of the company and given up all rights to the intellectual properties, and he won't get any money off of Paranautical Activity, and he won't be consulted for any future business decisions or have any hand in development. As a way, I guess, it looks like to try to get the game back on Steam.
That's actually what should have happened.
Yeah.
That's good.
I guess, I don't know.
You should just get fired.
Yeah.
Anyone who sends out a dumb tweet or doesn't know how to manage themselves nowadays, business-wise,
You know what?
Fired.
I don't know if it's actually a thing. I didn't look into it enough, but I think that if that is the case, if you can get blacklisted from Steam for certain things, and maybe it is because I've never been a developer. Maybe it's in their in their clauses, but there should be something that you can go reference that says specifically. Like, I feel like it's a thing where there should be rules, and if you break the rules, there are consequences. Not just an arbitrary. Well, we'll decide when it happens whether we're going to essentially destroy the ability of your game to make any money or not. Right? So if you say,
Sure.
if you have a page that says any threats against Valve or Valve's employees will result in immediate ban of your property from Steam, and it will no longer blah 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 blah, you know, that kind of thing. Maybe it's in there. Maybe it's in the stuff, and I don't know. But
Sometimes it's like common sense, though. It's like that kind of, does that really need to be in there? It's just like,
well,
if you're gonna have a business dealing with someone, don't make a public threat on their life, even if it's a joke.
right.
Just don't.
And in this particular
Bite your
case,
tongue and deal with it.
I definitely agree. It's just this actually segues nicely into our next story. But there's a problem a lot of times when you have things that are open to interpretation that aren't concrete rules, because it depends then on the largesse of the person who is in charge of making those decisions, right?
I mean, in this case, in this very specific example, I don't think this is a challenge on freedom of speech. This is business. This is business 101.
Sure.
You don't do that.
Sure. Yeah. I like I said, I don't want to sound like I'm twisting it to try to condone what the guy did.
Any person who says, fuck you, Rage Select, to us, what happens to them on our comment board or something like that?
They get like upvoted like 25 or 30 times, I think.
They do. Lots of karma, lots of points,
That's
guys.
Right. I don't know. Well, this segues nicely into our next story,
Okay.
which is that, and I didn't even know this.
This
but
one's fascinating.
This is really interesting. So, guys, I had no idea this was a thing. In 1988, the United Kingdom passed the Malicious Communications Act, and this act basically made it illegal at that time to threaten people via mail, right? Or
all these
printed
Brits
word
giving us a grandma glance on this, like, duh. You know
yeah.
that?
Well, this is the first time I ever heard about
Yeah,
this
me
shit,
too.
right? Like, so it was basically created to say that, like, if I write Grant a letter that says "fuck you, Grant," I'm going to come to your house, and "fuck you, Gabe Grant, Grant Newell," right? I'm going to come to your house and blah blah blah.
I'm going to curb stomp you.
Right. That they could then go and they could arrest you and they could put you in jail for a determined amount of time.
Okay.
In 2003, this was widened to cover all electronic communications, including social media and things like that. And it looks like the minimum sentence is 6 months in prison for threatening or harassing somebody via electronic communications in Britain.
This has scarier implications to us because we're in the U.S. and U.S. prisons are scary, right?
Well, there's that. I thought you were going to go a different place. I'm like, I don't think that they're going to extradite us for talking shit here. In,
they're going to come hunt us down.
But apparently, last week there was a story over on the Daily Mail where they said that that Parliament is considering quadrupling the sentences for people who break this.
So 2 years?
For ostensibly, one would think that it's 2 years for sending somebody threatening communication online if they can nail you down. Unfortunately, the people who are free speech proponents have pointed and said that the actual language of the law is very loose to the point where if you can consider harsh criticism to be the same as a threat or harassment, that you could be arrested and put in jail for essentially harshly criticizing somebody online.
And that's kind of the slippery slope. That's the bullshit right there.
Yeah. So
like, who gets to determine and how is it, like, what mood you're in when you decide to lay down the law on someone?
Yeah.
And that's 2 years of their life.
Yeah.
I mean, 6 months is still nothing to scoff at.
This is from the Wall Street Journal, actually, from an article that I was reading about this. It says, officers in 2012 arrested a 17-year-old for tweeting at diving pro Tom Daley that his Olympics performance that year had let down Mr. Daley's father, who had recently died from a brain tumor. Like, that seems like that. I mean, this is just, it's really fascinating implication.
See, that's weird because it's like you should be called out for being a dick.
Right.
You're a shitty human, but it doesn't mean you should go to jail, lose your freedom.
I see, and the thing is that I want to make it abundantly clear, right, that I'm not bringing this story up like to in any way, shape, or form legitimize any of the stuff that we've seen online with
Lately?
people getting doxxed or death threats or things like that. I'm not doing that at all. Like I don't. But it's just like I said. Well, we talked about last week.
I think there's punishments that we too have if someone makes a threat.
Well,
like, people get investigated.
Yeah, threats are not protected speech.
People
right?
that like threatened Anita Sarkeesian, the FBI were looking into that and like all that. So I mean, that happens.
Yeah, but those
are taken seriously.
What I really want to know though, because I know that we have listeners that are in Britain.
Yeah,
and I really want to know what y'all's take is on this. Because
Nicky Poo. What about we should call in resident Nicky Poo?
Yeah, that guy works all the time now. I can't get him on Skype, but. Yeah, I find it interesting. I wonder if the folks that live in England, like, do you guys feel is this a thing that affects your daily life? Right? I mean,
security is a completely different thing over there. They got cameras on every corner, watching everyone's move. I mean,
they also have much more stringent libel and slander laws in the UK, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds like it's one of them right there. Malicious communication, if it's becoming looser terms on that matter.
Yeah,
where do you draw the line?
Exactly, and that's why in this particular case, just like in the last case, I think it's important when you have things like this to not have it be a law that is up to the whims of the person enforcing it, right? The sort of thing that's so broad that it could be used at any point in time. So then the people who are enforcing it are able to just use it kind of when they want to or not want to. There should be some, as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to have something like this, it needs to be very specifically laid out, right, as to what constitutes what.
Exactly. There's a fascinating podcast I listened to on Radiolab.
Yeah.
I want to say it was called like 68 Words or 60-something Words was the name of the episode. And it was talking about the language that was used in a specific passage, I think, of the Patriot Act.
Okay.
That, like, post 9/11, it was like we needed to do something to kind of figure out how we could give executive powers to try and curb and ensure that a certain degree of safety, security, whatever.
Right.
But
that was expanding the powers of law enforcement to be able to kind of...
They put in some language that is completely loose and nebulous so that it's like anything that could be a potential threat.
Right.
And it's like, how do you decide if in the future something is a potential threat and now you can take care of that right now?
Right.
And it's just completely, like, radically changed our system of, like, judicial process and punishment and lethal enforcement, all that. It's weird.
And I think
this is very similar.
It seems that way. It's just, I guess, when I grew up, my dad is a real big 100%. He's a big free speech advocate with no boundaries. There's no boundaries, free speech. If you could say anything, you can literally say anything. You could say whatever you want to. And also, my dad was real conservative when I was growing up, and so the idea of he was always very keen on we don't want the government involved in people's lives because he lived in a time, and I'm not even saying it's different now, but of seeing the government fuck up so many attempts to enrich people's lives with an overabundance of bureaucracy to the point where it actually had a negative impact rather than the positive impact that it was supposed to have. Yeah. I'm kind of on the opposite side of that in my own politics. I actually am a little bit more pro-government because I'm more scared of corporations than I am of the bumbling United States government. But
I'm a little bit more pro-government as well. That's our liberalness.
But I feel like this particular story is interesting because it applies directly to questions that have come up recently with a lot of the Gamergate stuff about what, like, I'm a big advocate and always have been of that you have a legitimate right to privacy, right? If you want to keep people the hell out of your life, that you should be able to do that. And that doesn't, and I've said this before, I don't necessarily think that means the same thing as anonymity. I think that privacy and anonymity are two different things, and that you don't have to be anonymous in order to guarantee your privacy if there are
people shouldn't be able to violate that. They shouldn't be able to go and if they know you didn't want your naked photos out exposed online, they shouldn't be able to grab that shit and put it online. That's fucked up.
And that I feel like this particular...
That's privacy versus anonymity.
And then maybe I'm naive for thinking this, but in this particular day and age, I feel that like it would be much more... I feel like it would be much more useful for us to start locking down the way that privacy, the way your personal information is disseminated around the internet, right? Getting that shit under control rather than relying on the fact that nobody has yet looked in your direction. Like on one of our dojo episodes, I made a joke about that I don't use my last name on the show, right? It's mostly because it's hard to spell and it's not cool like Davis or Murphy or
Davis
Alexander,
cool?
Right? Well, it's easy, right? People can remember it.
Yeah.
My name is hard to pronounce and hard to spell and hard to remember how to spell, so I generally don't use it. That's why
I always call you Jeff Schormer.
I Jeff Huge Dick that's the
Jeff
one.
Huge Dick.
That's the one that I go with. But people online took that as a challenge. And a bunch of them were like, I found your last name. And it was like, well, it's not that hard to find.
But in a way, and not to call y'all out, but didn't you kind of feel like it's a little bit of an invasion of privacy? And it's like such a laughable game that everyone wants to be able to find your details and expose them to other people. What if you didn't want that known?
Well,
tough shit, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So the other side of that coin, obviously, is the fact that I run a website where I scream about my dick 7 days a week.
Sure.
I'm not really entitled to the same level of privacy as like Joe Everyman, who just has a Facebook thing to look at his children's pictures, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, one of the things that happened was as soon as my last name went out there, I got a bunch more Facebook friend requests on my personal page, which I keep. I wish I had an auto reply on my Facebook page to be like, look, bro, unless you're into really emo music videos at 3 o'clock in the morning that get deleted by 8 a.m. the next day, you don't want to be friends with me I don't post anything on Facebook except for emo music videos.
This is why I unfriended you.
Yeah.
It just wasn't worth it.
I figure you were just nice enough to block me, right? Instead of actually befriending me. But anyway, I think this is really interesting, and I'd really be fascinated to hear what all of our listeners think about this topic, about privacy and anonymity and libels and threats and stuff like that online.
It's one of those as you get older things that I always hated.
Yeah.
Other people telling me when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, you do, 'cause like it's something you constantly have to like kind of think about, and we're also in this sort of like brave new world, new frontier with how communication and anonymity on the internet, and yet everyone's interconnected all of a sudden.
Right.
Everyone has a voice. There's a lot more power in the individual hands.
Yeah.
And like how we're still struggling to kind of figure out boundary lines for all of that. Where does privacy fit in? Where does right to free speech, and where's the line to draw? And a lot of heavy stuff there.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, I feel like it's also, I mean, it's such a complicated topic because it's not, and I feel like a lot of times we get a kind of weirdly myopic view of it because it's not even the United States.
No,
it's the entire world.
It is.
It's like the sort of thing where you're going to have cultures that feel differently about what you should be able to say, places where free speech isn't a thing, right? Where you don't have the right to say whatever. Where
I find like I'll lay down an opinion, and then someone will say something and be like, okay, well, no, now you changed my opinion. And
right.
someone else, it's like, I still don't even know fully where I feel on this.
Yeah, and I feel that a lot of times, I mean, maybe I'm just not hanging out in the right parts of the internet, but that we get so bogged down in the details of individual things, like in Gamergate, right?
Yeah.
That we're not having these conversations way up here about privacy. I mean, the other day I was talking with somebody at a bar, right? And I was like, there's an idea in my mind that you can develop that says that free speech shouldn't be a 100% right on the internet, right? You shouldn't just be allowed to say whatever you want to on the internet because you're able to do it so anonymously that maybe you should have your name attached to everything that you do, or I don't know. It's a very complicated thing. Anyway,
there's no accountability. It's weird.
We spent quite a bit of time talking about this. I encourage all of you to go look up the Malicious Communication Act of 1988, and I really would like to hear from our British listeners. Or is that is there United
Or
Kingdom?
listeners across the pond.
Yeah, what they think about this. All right, next up we got a few kind of lighter stories to just wrap this up with. Our next one is that Jade Raymond from Ubisoft Toronto is leaving Ubisoft and to pursue other options. Now, I don't know if you know
Jade
who
Raymond?
Jade Raymond is.
She kind of looks like one of the younger Olsen sister from this distance.
You know, it's funny how I feel that Jade Raymond actually is. It's weird that she's like one of the producers on the Assassin's Creed franchise and then the Watch Dogs. So she'd be the person they would bring out to talk to reporters and stuff like that. But she's also an active producer. She's made a lot of really good games, and it sucks that she's leaving.
So she's going on to like start her own thing.
At this point, I don't think that they've actually officially announced what she's going to do. But
you think she got fired?
Pursuing other opportunities. I don't think so. I think that she's just been working at Ubisoft. She's in this sort of position right now where she's been at Ubisoft long enough to go through like 4 or 5 or 6 Assassin's Creed games and Watch Dogs, which are all very similar games. The point where if I was her, I might be like, yeah, I think I want to go make something that is not this same game type. And that if she's at Ubisoft, I don't know, maybe she doesn't have a lot of room to move internally in that studio. But anyway, we here at Rage Select wish her well. I wish her well. I don't know. Do you?
We would like to say that you can come on over to Rage Select if you want to. You want to join the team.
New program director. We could use the voice on the voice on the podcast.
That'd be kind of cool.
Jade Ray. All right, you heard it here first, folks. Jade Raymond. She's accepting new opportunities over here at Rage Select.
There's an offer out to her.
That's right.
If she wants to come join us,
call us. You can find my personal information online really easily, apparently. So
if you know how to make us money, then you can also get paid money.
Just call me at. Yeah. You know, some people put their address and their phone number on their Facebook profile. That seems crazy to me.
Yeah,
crazy.
My older relatives do this all the time. They're like, "Hey, send me your my cousins and aunts are like, send me your address," and they'll just post it in the comments. I'm like, guys, don't do that. It's just my own insecurity about it. Don't do that.
Yeah. All right. Well, next up, we've got let's see. Oh, good. We're going to come in at just the right time.
Cool.
We got 3 more stories left to go. One of them is, I think, really good news for everybody. Apparently, I mean, by the time this podcast goes up, maybe. Yep. Actually, it should be the day today.
Sunday.
If you've got an Xbox 360, you can go download Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and play it.
Cool.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's
you can just download it now.
Right? Yeah. It's odd because there's a PC version of San Andreas, but it sucks to use with a controller because it was a PS2 game, and then they have the PC version where they were still getting that shit figured out. So if they have an updated and good-looking version of San Andreas, it's been a long time since I played that game, but I remember absolutely loving it.
Did they up the graphics, you think?
Let's see.
Xbox
Beyond confirming achievements, Rockstar has offered... Let's see, Rockstar support page notes the game will feature 720p resolution and enhanced draw distance. It looks like they just kind of...
not much.
Well, they took the PC port that probably smoothed out some of the stuff and then just putting it to the Xbox 360. But I think it's great. I think that a lot of those early GTA games are kind of locked up on the old consoles, or the PC ports are shit. So I'm glad that they're...
Put it on the PlayStation Network. I'll get it.
Yeah? All right,
I guess
after
I
that...
just borrow your game.
This is you want to just take my Xbox 360?
Yeah.
I'm not. I got like 12 consoles in this house. You could totally take one of them with you. Next up, this is something that nobody but me cares about, but
I don't know.
So, okay, grant a little backstory for you here. There's a thing called Games for Windows Live, right?
Okay.
So Games for Windows Live was Microsoft's. It was kind of like what they had on the 360, but it was on the PC. So you like launch your Steam game, and this Game for Windows Live thing would come down. It was how they would do online matchmaking. So a few months back, 6-8 months ago, maybe less than that. I don't know the exact time frame. Time is a mystery to me. They shut down Games for Windows Live. So any game on the PC that required Game for Windows Live could no longer play multiplayer, and that includes my baby. Dark Souls 1.
Oh.
So if you had the PC version of Dark Souls 1, which is the best version, you couldn't play online. You couldn't play multiplayer, which is an important point of the game. Apparently, next month, they're moving the multiplayer components from Games for Windows Live to Steam, so you will be able to play multiplayer Dark Souls 1 again.
Dude.
Yeah.
You were totally right. Only you care about this.
Only I care about this. Me and like 4 other people. And so all 4 of y'all out there, like, woo!
Let's
hit me
get
up.
together. Let's play.
Let's play some Dark Souls on the PC, bro. All right. And finally,
I want to see a Jeff versus no one else on Dark Souls on a Friday.
Oh well, I beat Dark Souls 1 without any help with anybody.
Guys,
so.
where are the rest of you?
Yeah,
it's just you searching the rest of the world for someone else to play.
There's got to be at least one person playing this game. Finally, Grant, I should have had you watch this trailer before we started. This is just a little lighthearted thing. We had some heavy talk. So you ever play Surgery Simulator?
I've watched it.
Okay, well, the company that made Surgery Simulator, Bossa Entertainment, is making a new game, and it's called I Am Bread.
Oh my God! Look at this thing.
And it's a piece of bread that you can control each individual corner of the bread. I got bread on a ceiling fan. You got bread flying around
This
the room.
looks amazing. Is this like the same people that did Octodad?
No, this is the same people who did Surgery Simulator.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was also the same company.
No, that's a different company.
But it just seems kind of similar. That's absurd.
I like the fact that
Moving
there's
piece of bread.
I can see
it's in a toilet.
a piece of bread wielding a knife, like walking around with a knife. Here's a piece of bread on a skateboard.
What was that game, Mojo, where you're like the cockroach? And you're
Bad Mojo.
Bad Mojo?
They actually just released that on Steam.
Oh,
But
really?
so in the same vein as Surgery Simulator and Goat Simulator,
It's a piece of bread humping a loaf of bread.
that's right, bread on bread action. We have I Am Bread, and let me see if there's a release date on I Am Bread, or is this? Let's see.
Jeff, we have a new sequential.
Yeah.
Just playing as a loaf of bread.
No release date yet and no target platforms, but I highly encourage everybody to go check out I Am Bread because it looks like a hell of a lot of fun.
A thing of beauty.
Yeah.
Man, that looks great.
Yeah, what a great way to end the news segment without a bunch of and finally one more downer story. No. So we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to answer. We got questions, Grant.
Ooh.
The people got questions. We got to answer them. So we're going to take a brief break, but when we come back, mail@rageselect.com is the address, and we're going to be answering your questions. All right, folks, and we are back. We're back, and Grant, do you have your answering cap on?
Let me turn it backwards.
Yeah.
I have no hat on. I don't even know why I was bothering to pretend for you.
Okay, yeah. Like this is radio, man. They can't see you.
No-
You
no
just be
one
like,
sees.
yeah, I've got it on. It's multicolored. It's like 12 stories tall. It touches the ceiling. What the fuck?
It's that same hat from Back to the Future, too.
Wait, which
multicolored.
one? Oh,
totally one.
yeah. All right, well, I tell you what, folks, if you want to send in your questions, mail@rageselect.com, that's mail@rageselect.com, is the email address. And our first question this week comes from our old friend, the Illegal Swede.
Oh.
An Illegal Swede says, "Greetings, Jeff and Grant. Is there a game that you have replayed specifically for a new game mode, harder difficulties, arcade modes with modifiers, etc., that you unlocked upon completion? For me, it was hardcore mode in Dead Space 2, which I recently completed after being reminded by the Patreon sequential. Also, how do the hombres at Casa del Rage Select make their nachos? Standard cheese and salsa or something more exotic? Thanks, guys. Rage on and have a spooky Halloween." And he says, "P.S. When you guys were talking about dark and gritty versions of comic book characters, I'm surprised you missed out on the most obvious answer. I want a dark and gritty version of Stiltman, of course."
Stiltman. Yes.
Illegal Swede. All right, so the first question is New Game Plus. Grant,
Where you unlock something else after completing?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of games out there will allow you, when you finish the game, to go back and play through it on a harder difficulty level. I got to say that for my money, for the most part, I usually play New Game Plus when it's a game that has like a lot of upgrades, right? And they let you
I just
restart the
imagine
game.
you don't even have time to ever do the plus because you're like, finish the game, gotta go to the next one, gotta get it done.
Yeah.
Hustle.
BioShock was one that I would play over and over again.
I know
through.
when I played like the Arkham games, I'd complete that and then like because you can just kind of this isn't the same, I guess is what he's asking.
What's that?
It's not like you complete
just
it and then you go
replay.
to a different mode. Yeah, it's just kind of replay and you go and finish other little side quests that you didn't have time for.
I know that in Arkham City they had a New Game Plus where it made everything harder, and then they actually, one of the things they did in Arkham City was they stopped putting the little things over the guys' heads when they were going to hit you. So you just had to pay the fuck attention to when someone was ready to hit you. I think that probably the biggest standout, and I know that I know. Dark Souls 2. Yeah, I know.
That's your go-to.
Well, not Dark Souls 1, but so all the Demon Souls and Dark Souls, both you could do New Game Plus and everything would become harder, right? So you're at this high level when you finish the game, then you start the game over, and everything was even harder than it was the first time around. But in Dark Souls 2, they actually did something really interesting where in New Game Plus there were items, monsters, and story beats that you didn't see in the regular new game.
Oh,
So
that is kind of cool.
You go to New Game Plus, and there would be like bosses would drop different souls, or there'd be chests there that weren't there before.
That just also seems though like such an investment of development time for even a smaller fraction of your audience at that point. Like, is it that great of a return on investment for them to put in that effort?
I think that for Dark Souls 2, it showed that they knew their audience, right?
They know that a lot of their audience would do a replay.
Yeah, a lot of the Dark Souls audience. I mean, Dark Souls 1, in order to get I think in order to get all the trophies, you had to at least go through the game like once or twice, right?
Ah, okay.
But Dark Souls 2 even has an item in it that you can use that'll make a specific area like New Game Plus, and then. And it'll permanently. So then, like, if you go to New Game Plus, then that area will be New Game Plus Plus.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the last one I can recall doing this for Castle Crashers.
Oh yeah,
go all the way through that, and then you get the Inferno version, and it's like even harder. But once you kind of go through that, you can unlock even more characters.
You know, the thing is, I guess I'm not really much of a guy for like. I don't like just superficially difficult games.
Yeah.
I'm not really interested. I mean, there are people out there that they get a new game to play it on hard or extreme or whatever. I just want to play a game on normal. I want enough of a challenge. Like, I don't play games on easy because I want enough of a challenge. I want to feel what this developer thinks a normal challenge is.
You just kind of want more of the experience of being immersed in the world and knowing the story and following along.
Also, as you pointed out before, I generally don't have time to bang my head up against a game until I get good enough at it to beat it. Like, I need to beat a game, and then I got another game, and I got another game, I got another game, and another game. So, but yeah, I think Dark Souls 2 is probably the only one that in any game where you're able to do New Game Plus.
And how about that second part of that question?
Oh, nachos?
Nachos.
Oh, come on. Cheese and salsa, that's like beginner. That's ezy mode
That
nachos.
is easy mode.
Come on, man. You got to put some chicken.
Yeah, you got
guac.
nachos plus that shit.
Yeah, you got to...
Jalapenos, sour cream is such a deal like maker. I think it's like
really,
man. Sour cream and guac on there is just heaven.
You know, I've actually fallen out of favor with sour cream over the last few years.
Oh yeah,
I just don't like it anymore. I don't know why.
It always has to be in moderation. I think.
Yeah,
I think it's a great little extra balance to something. I don't want it to be too heavy-handed with the sour cream, which a lot of places around here they'll just dollop it on. I'm like, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Have some finesse. But bacon, oh man, I had some black bean, cheese, and bacon nachos, like a big, fat, thick little strip of it. Big, fat, little, whatever. Oxymoronic piece of bacon on there.
This giant, infinitesimal piece of bacon. It was really tall, but skinny as fuck, you guys.
It's like paper.
No, generally speaking, I mean, whenever I get nachos, I usually get them at this local restaurant, Chewy's. They've got their poncho nachos, which are basically it's beans, fajita meat, and then pico, cheese, guacamole, sour cream, sometimes sour cream, and a little lettuce. Yeah, you got to nacho that shit up right, man.
There used to be a Fuddruckers right next to my house. I know it's a big. I think it's a national chain actually. I think get the nachos there, and then you can customize and like add all your other fixings onto the nachos. I would just make this
just ketchup, just all ketchup,
foul looking like Dagwood and Scooby like helped me collaborate on this mountain of nachos.
Yep, and
then I'd put that in my gut. And then I'd take that gut to the bathroom immediately and just put it right into the toilet. But it was so good.
Yeah, the other thing that that Mr. Swede here might not be. Maybe he's hip to or whatever, but like most of the places here in town, I don't think of nachos as just being like cheese and salsa, because any place that's a Mexican restaurant in Austin, you're going to get a basket of chips and salsa when you get there. So like
that's a freebie,
right? You're going to get that shit for free for nothing. So you got to add, like, you can't just. Or you can just put cheese on top of the chips and salsa that you gave me? Come on, guys. Fucking step it up. If I'm going to pay $8 for this, you're going to need to put something on there.
And they go all out.
Yep.
I mean, Tex-Mex, it's fucking awesome.
I got to tell you, though, man, I don't like it when, like what you're describing at Fuddruckers, I don't like that shit. You know, like when they put a bunch of chips and they just put a mound of crap on top of it.
It's
because then when you pull out some of the chips,
messy,
they're all floppy.
And you're playing the constant balance game of like, oh, now I need to scoop some of that onto this other one.
Yeah.
I do like the places where they'll put the individual chip and load it up, and they'll be like 12 fat loaded up chips, and that's perfectly fine. Each one is beautiful like that.
Or the other one that you see here in Austin a lot is when they bring you like the bowl that's got like meat and cheese and queso
the
and
queso
guac
mix,
and stuff,
yeah.
and you just mix it all up in this giant sludge, and then you just like, do you want to go get some nachos?
Yeah.
Fuck the rest of the show, man.
Let's change this to Nacho Select.
NachosSelect.com.
Just gonna talk about nachos all the time.
Your number one source on the internet for nachos and nacho-related news.
Nachos are the best when you just smother the queso on your chest and then you just lay in bed and just scoop chips onto your chest and then eat them. You know how we do.
Nachos, right?
Occasionally you get a little bit of a chest hair in there. It's okay. Roll
Just
with it.
flavor. You know,
Yeah.
just a little flavor.
The cheese balances it.
Now I just have this weird mental image, Grant, of you shaving your chest with a sharp chip and cheese as the.
I want to see some artwork of this.
No.
What's our next question?
All right, our next one comes in from Mike, and Mike says, "Greetings, acolytes of the dong. I am writing to you for advice on how to sway women with my pelvic influences." But in all seriousness, I met a girl who I love spending time with, but I do not know how to approach the question of asking her to be my girlfriend. We went to a dance together, had a splendid time, and I do not know how to approach said question. I've been informed of two methods: to chip away at her or to tell her how I feel the next time I see her. I'd love to hear your advice. And may the golden urethra of the dong... You should not use the words golden urethra when you're talking to this woman, by the way. Of the dong forever shower you with its eternal knowledge. Respectfully, Mike. I like the way that Mike can write about this golden dong shower and then top it all off with, respectfully, like, yours truly, Mike Esquire III.
Be direct.
Yeah.
I that's always going to be the best method. I mean, just go say, like, hey, I really enjoy spending time with you. I was wondering if you are interested in me in that sort of way, in the romantic way. You want to continue pursuing this as that? If not, that's fine. I just understand. I just want to know where we stand.
Yeah, take it from somebody who's tried the chip away method unsuccessfully more times than you can count.
I find the chip away chips away more at you than it does at the other person.
Yes, indeed.
It's just more painful for you. And if they were interested in you and you try that method, you probably lose their respect at a certain point because you can't just be direct.
Right.
Tell someone how you feel.
Well, I mean, like, the thing is that if she's...
And don't be afraid of rejection. It's okay for them to say no.
In talking about the chip away thing, like, imagine the opposite was true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine, like, you liked some girl, but she just kept kind of, like, timidly coming around and, like, trying to get you interested or whatever. Like, if she's interested, right?
Yeah.
So
how would you feel?
Yeah,
she's a person just like you.
So,
you'd want someone to just be kind of like, "Hey, I like you," and be like, "Fuck, awesome, okay, cool."
Break it down to brass tacks.
Sorry, I don't really feel the same way.
Yeah, just say, "Hey, yo, do you want some of this?" And then point at your golden urethra. And I'm sorry, that's Jason talking through me.
I don't know if you should do such a thing. Don't point at the golden urethra. Although it is an impressive selling point.
Just point at your crotch the entire time. Just walk down the street with one hand, or like
y'all see this.
One of those terrible T-shirts that has the arrow pointing
down. The Man, the Legend.
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's what you should do. That's how you ask a girl out, is you buy the Man, the Legend T-shirt, and you just walk up to her, and you point at the shirt, and you go, and then you point down, and you go, Nothing more direct than that.
Yeah.
There's no way to be more direct in this world than pointing at your crotch and making guttural noises. It's kind of the caveman version.
I mean, if you're too afraid of being able to put yourself out there,
yeah,
there's always the other option of talking to their friend and saying, "Hey, I'm interested in them. I want to know, is that something I should pursue?"
I guess that works.
I know, but for some people, it still is kind of difficult to put yourself out there, and you are just locked up by that fear of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And
what you need to do is,
you also need to be able to trust their friend. Their friend might hate you, and they might like you. So
right.
Take it with a grain of salt.
What you need to do is you need to get her in a place and then take your phone into the bathroom and you listen to the greatest psych up asking a woman out song of all time.
Now you're a man.
No,
what is it?
no. It's obviously Bust a Move by Young MC.
Don't just stand there. Bust a move.
Exactly. Young MC is going to tell you what to do.
Best friend Harry's got a brother Larry.
There you go. So, listen to Bust a Move 12 times in a row. Give that lady a call and see what's going on.
Dude, best of luck. I hope in your next email we have a success story.
Yes. Or you could just call her up and then rap bust a move to her over the phone, and that would be really confusing.
And then at the end, be like,
so
will you be my steady main squeeze?
that's right.
Is that how the kids are saying it now?
I don't even know. I don't know what jargon. I'm so far past the kids. It's like our listeners are 20-year-olds. I don't know what 14-year-olds are doing this.
We're not
these
hip.
days.
Go to the next telegram.
Next telegram. All right. This one comes in from EmperorBase.exe or Bass.exe. I don't know which
Bass
one
Fishing Pro?
Yeah. Super Bass. This one comes in from Emperor Nicki Minaj.
Sweet.
Greetings to you, servants of the Dong Lord. I was replaying Mega Man X4 recently and reached the infamous Iris death scene in all its cheesy glory. I have no idea what he's talking about there. It got me wondering, what hackneyed cutscenes in video games can you think of, either in terms of crappy voice acting or unintentionally funny content? Is there an otherwise good cutscene in a game that you'd like to be made cheesy for the sake of comedy? Thanks for all your hard work. May Donclays bless you with his mark. Sincerely, Emperor Bass.exe or Base.exe or Basexa. I don't know how to say that, or Bassexa.
All your base or belong to us is just kind of one of those joke ones that always sticks, I think, with people.
Well, I don't think that. I mean, that didn't actually have dialogue in the
What was
original,
that?
right?
Was it like X-Men or Captain America? Like, you will be the one.
I
What did that guy
know.
say?
There was, I think, Welcome to Die. That was the
Welcome to
X-Men
Die.
video game, right? Okay, we there's an elephant in this room, Grant, that we
Okay.
can't get around talking about.
Yeah.
That is the original Resident Evil, right? Have you played the original?
I never played it.
Oh my God! So the original Resident Evil. Here I'm gonna. Well, this is
Yeah, don't worry about
it. So the original Resident Evil was, I believe in its inception, that they wanted it to have the feel of a B movie.
Okay.
So the original Resident Evil starts with the STARS team running through the woods in this live action shot. It's not actually the game; it's just live action of these people that looks like they spent about $12 at Party City to buy their paramilitary outfits.
Okay.
And they're running from these dogs in this really cheesily shot thing. And I think it's got to be intentional. They are some of the worst voice actors. And so if you go back and you watch Resident Evil, play Resident Evil 1, the dialogue in Resident Evil 1 is so atrocious. Like there's the one infamous line where what does he say? Like, Jill jumps through this trap or whatever, and he's like, and this is I swear to God, this is almost the exact way he says, like, wow, you almost became a Jill sandwich. Or like,
Oh no.
in the beginning when he gives her, he's like,
Jill, here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
like, it's this really terrible dialogue read in a really terrible way.
I do not know this because I just jumped in with two.
Yeah, when we get done here, I will show you the opening cutscene to Resident Evil. It is fucking hilarious, and like, it's funny that game is so well remembered because, and it's funny that the game franchise has become so dark because in the early days, it was something nobody had ever. Well, I think it's something nobody had ever seen really all that much before, but
A parody that becomes a serious
Right,
franchise.
right. I mean,
it's kind of like the Scream franchise, right?
yeah. Well,
It starts off as a joke, and it's like, wait, there's money to be made here.
the gameplay itself was riveting, right? But all of the stuff around it was just fucking. It was so bad.
Yeah.
As far as games where you'd like to see games turned with crappy voice acting, I think I'd really like to see a version of The Last of Us where the voice acting was just like really, really shitty, terrible people.
It's so serious and so heavy.
I want them to deliver all of those super serious monologues.
Oh,
About,
man. That'd actually be great. I would love to see that.
I want somebody to go back through and redub all of Ellie's dialogue with Tara Strong's voice.
I mean, it's kind of like when Rooster Teeth took off because they did Red versus Blue. I mean, they took the serious military world crossing battle, and
Yeah.
then they just made a comedy machinima from it. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Let's see. Was there another question?
No, I think that was all you had for that.
Crappy voice acting, unintentionally funny content. Yep.
Emperor Super Bass.
Emperor Super Bass. Yep. All right. Our next one comes in. We're really whipping through questions today, Grant.
Oh.
Next one comes in from Thwack. And Thwack says, Dear Bishops of the Dong, What's the weirdest promotional tie-in for a game that you can think of? I ask because I'm a big fan of Payday 2, and at the time of writing this, Payday 2 just released a piece of free DLC where you can play as John Wick. I didn't know that.
Wow.
Who the fuck is John Wick, you might ask? No, I wouldn't, because our movie friends won't shut up about him. John Wick is a character in an upcoming action movie starring Keanu Reeves. Basically, they just released free Keanu Reeves DLC in a game where you rob banks and shoot hundreds upon thousands of cops. So as I was fulfilling Keanu's bloodlust to kill every big cop in Washington, D.C., I thought to myself, this is fucking weird. I've heard of weird promotional games before, like Pepsi Man, but I don't think there would be a video game tie-in for a movie that's probably going to be forgotten about in a week. I don't know, man. Everybody, we'll get to that in a second. Hopefully you two can think of stuff that's just as weird, if not weirder, than this movie tie-in. Thanks in advance, and let his veiny dong always keep your hopes erect. Thwack.
What is up with these intros and outro things?
They started
this dong stuff.
They started doing it, and they just haven't stopped. They're just getting more elaborate as time goes on with the whole dog and Clays thing.
Oh.
Well, first off,
John Wick.
I'm totally
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I hear good things.
Everybody that I know that I've talked to that's seen it has just been like, talked to our friend Hi, I talked to Brian Salisbury.
Yeah.
Every one of them that's seen it has just been like fucking fantastic. I'm going to go see it immediately. So
It ain't going anywhere.
it's not going anywhere.
Except for to the top of the charts, kid.
Well, I guess the thing is that it seems weird. I can imagine in other parts of the country where they don't have Fantastic Fest or a bunch of like hardcore movie nerds like we have here.
Yeah.
That it's just this Keanu Reeves movie that nobody's heard about. Where they're like, "What is that? Oh, maybe I'll
What
go
is
see it
this
this weekend."
Matrix thing?
Right.
Nothing. I bet it's some dumb movie.
I was actually thinking that rather than answer his question, I think I'd rather like to advocate for the entire video game industry to just start putting Keanu Reeves into every single game that's out there.
Everything. Yeah.
You know,
Pac-Man with just Keanu's head going wobble, wobble, wobble,
just going whoa, 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 whoa.
that's even better.
Yeah. Keanu Reeves as the main character. But I want it to be like, okay, so the Alien Isolation game that just came out starred Amanda Ripley, Ripley's daughter. I want a DLC pack that has Keanu Reeves in drag with like a bad wig as his model in the game. Like,
oh man,
I want Keanu Reeves to cosplay every character. So it's not just like
It's like-
put Keanu in there, but it's like Keanu, but he's dressed up like
it's like that Nicolas Cage is everything. You just want Keanu Reeves does everything in video games.
right. Exactly.
He plays everyone.
Exactly.
Remember that Noid game, the Domino's video game?
Yo Noid.
Yo Noid.
Absolutely.
That was a pretty weird.
That was just games based on stuff.
Yeah, I mean that was a tie-in to a company.
I'm trying to think of like it's usually the games get stuff when there'll be like some kind of huge marketing blitz, right? So there'll be like the Riddick movie and the Riddick game and the Riddick
But
meal
like a
at Taco
DLC
Bell.
onto something else.
Right.
Like I think like Angry Birds seems to have done that a couple times. Like Angry
wait.
Birds Star Wars or Angry Birds.
What was that one? There was a game. I always forget about it. It was a Skittles game.
Skittles?
Yeah. And it was
Taste the rainbow.
it was like a dragon. It was like you rode a dragon and you're blowing stuff up and you're trying to correct.
Darkened Sky?
Is this it? Yes. I think this is what I'm thinking of.
They just like had you carry around Skittles in it?
The main character. Okay, yeah, this is for the Wikipedia page. The main character is a young woman named Sky who lives in a fantasy realm searching for her mother. She does not use firearms but can perform magic using Skittles candy, as well as her staff as a melee weapon, though it becomes an energy weapon when used in conjunction with the Skittles. So this is like an actual video game that I think
Skittles gave them money. Huh?
Yeah, that was like tied into Skittles, and it wasn't apparently the worst. Like it looks like it was just like a medium. It was reviewed as like a middle tier type of game. I remember it. Yeah, that it was like this. It was like a third person action game or something.
I mean, it full on looks like a regular game. Like, why would they put Skittles in there?
It's one of those things where they were still trying to figure out how to like co-brand stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like a kind of shitty video game, but it totally had Skittles in it as well.
I always think of Zombieland as doing such a good job with its tie-in when it had Twinkies. and it was like such a plot point.
Yeah.
That like Twinkies were a part of that movie.
Yeah.
But it wasn't offensive to me as like a marketing ploy.
I heard this is off the beaten path, but I heard Sharknado 2 came out last week.
Oh, really?
And apparently, I was listening to the review
Where
over
was
on
all the fervor for that?
Digital Noise for it over on One of Us.
Yeah.
And they said that it's like 100 times better than Sharknado 1 because they literally rounded up every single D-list celebrity they could find to just be in the movie. So like.
So it's just like a game of looking for people then?
You don't have to look. Apparently, it's just every scene is full of... They went for the lowest tier people that they could find. So, like, Jared from Subway or Andy Dick or, like, the entire thing is just full of the bottom tier celebrities that they could.
Like, anyone who was going to be on that...
they shot it in, like, New York, right? So they just, like...
That Trump show, yeah.
Yeah, like, rounded up. Here, let me actually look up the... because I don't know about you, Grant, but did you ever watch Sharknado?
No.
It was like naughty. I didn't think it was even a fun bad movie. It was just a bad movie. Like it wasn't even very funny.
But it was such like a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah,
everyone was gathered around to watch.
Okay, let's see here. We got our main cast of
Carrot Top in it.
Ian Ziering and Tara Reid as the main characters.
Ian Ziering,
Vivica A. Fox, Mark McGrath.
Mark McGrath. That's such a perfect example.
Carrie Werner, Courtney Baxter, Judd Hirsch, Kurt Angle, Downtown Julie Brown. Let's see who else.
Mark McGrath was saying that Sugar Ray was intentionally started as a band to try and be a one-hit wonder. That's all they wanted to be. And it kept going, and it was like, oh, man, I don't know if we actually want to continue being a band.
All right. Billy Ray Cyrus.
Oh.
Peppa from Salt and Peppa. Andy Dick, Judah Freelander, Perez Hilton, Biz Marquis, Matt Lauer. This isn't even
William
everybody.
Hung, Psy, are they in there?
Kelly Osbourne, Kelly Ripa, Al Roker. Like, I think I might have to watch this. Like, and it just keeps going, right?
No, Jeff, you don't have to watch that.
Holy shit. Anyway, Will Wheaton? Okay. Yeah, so apparently that's I don't know.
So Sharknado 2.
Sharknado 2.
That's the best example of a tie-in.
A movie, of a video game that had, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of, like, weird promotional stuff. I know that Sony for a long time had a real bad... There was a couple of companies that had really bad track records at, like, marketing problems. Weren't specific game tie-ins, but, like, in the UK, when the PlayStation 2 was getting ready to come out, Sony mailed people this fake doctor's report that they had been diagnosed with, like, your life isn't fun enough, and it was an ad for the PlayStation 2. But it was close enough to the actual stuff that they got in trouble because people thought they had something wrong with them, and they were, like, going to the doctor and stuff like that.
That's stupid.
Yeah. There was one... I know that EA has had some problems. I know there was one when Dante's Inferno was coming out where they had, like, the 7 Deadly Sins thing, and they had one that was like, send us your best picture of you committing one of the 7 Deadly Sins.
Come on. No, they didn't.
Or something like that. I think there was one where they had, like, a press event where they had a giant, like, treasure chest full of money that they were just handing stacks of money to the press that was there for the... one of the 7 Deadly Sins, like
greed,
and I think they had one where they had, like, new dancers for the lust one. Like, that thing just got really screwed up.
No, we'll be edgy, guys. It'll be cool.
Yeah,
we fucked up. We fucked up big.
Sony is probably the worst, though.
Yeah,
they had the one. Did you ever see the one that was when they were bringing out the white PSP? You know what I'm talking about? Okay, I got to pull this picture up. This is a little off topic, but this is probably the worst thing Sony has ever done as far as an advertisement goes. So they were the original handheld
was a black PSP,
and they were bringing out the white PSP, and they created these billboards and they put them up. And for anybody who hasn't seen this, this was the ad. It's this woman dressed in white, this white woman all dressed in white, holding this African-American woman who's all dressed in black by the face in this really menacing way, and it just says PlayStation Portable white is coming on the billboard. Like this
I couldn't. Okay,
You couldn't make it out.
I couldn't see the black
Right.
person at first. It's just like the contrast is so high.
Yeah, it was like they had a couple that was
Oh, jeez.
this woman that was a white woman dressed in white, and this black woman that was dressed in black.
Like assaulting the black woman.
yeah, and it was like,
Oh man.
who the fuck at Sony went like, yeah, that's a great idea. I think,
You know what we should show? White on black violence.
yeah, that's a great idea. I remember when that story came out, I was just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh man, that's such a great fucked up ad.
Yep. All right, our next one comes in from Sir Brinklehoff Esquire. He says,
Of course.
greetings, clergymen of the dong. This is Sir Brinklehoff Esquire with a question that requires your wisdom. In this golden age of television we live in, we are seeing new shows basing themselves on a variety of property types. My question is, what video game franchise do you think would make a good TV show? Personally, I think a show set in the world of the Fallout games would do well if the writing was there. Further explanation if you give a shit. I understand what you're saying.
What's his explanation? I kind of want to hear it.
Basically, the show would center around a group of vault dwellers trying to start a settlement on the surface, facing conflict because of their possession of a Gek, which forces local factions to home in on them, and now they have to choose who to side with and who to fight.
That could be kind of cool.
Thank you. May the Lord Dong hear your prayer, Sir Brinklehoff, Esquire.
A little survival ensemble show.
I'm trying to think of things that wouldn't require like a super huge budget. I mean, like
I have one of the writers at TV Dudes actually is actively writing an article on video games that should be adapted.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I'm curious
just gonna-
what he's going to put on there.
Oh, you're just like, I'm just going to read his article here on the air.
No, he hasn't delivered it yet.
Let me think here. There's a lot of. I mean, you can kind of go through the. I could totally see with the way that Game of Thrones has worked out, making like a Skyrim game that's a medieval with some magic and stuff. I
Do
mean,
you find that it has a really strong mythology?
what's that?
Skyrim?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, it's the
Again, a cast of characters?
it's the fifth Elder Scrolls game, and they all have in the same universe kind of thing.
like
so.
one of the toughest things it seems with like video games is it's all one person's perspective usually, and with a television narrative, you want a good swath of perspectives and characters.
You know what I bet would work really well as a TV show if they could get the budget to do it? Would be Mass Effect, because there's so many. Like, they've written so much information about the different species in the game and the way that they interact, and that you could start yourself. Plus, you have an ensemble cast like a Star Trek or Firefly or something like that. If you had a ship with some people on it and they get into adventures or whatever, you could totally do a sci-fi show that was like that. I think that would be a really cool universe to set something in.
That does sound pretty neat.
Fallout 3 is not a bad one. I mean, the Fallout universe is a really interesting universe. We just have to go down to Southern California, find some crappy scrubland.
What was that zombie game that we played a little bit ago that we had Daisy
Maverick, Dead Rising.
Dead Rising.
Yeah, just
I thought
ridiculous.
there was some good different characters that we kept running across. I thought there was some comedic elements to the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, that would be cool. As I don't feel like there's enough, or maybe I
mean,
just
they
don't search
attempted
it
a
out.
Zombieland TV series and it did not work.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
was it taking itself too seriously or not seriously enough? Or
it was just crappy. It
Oh,
was
yeah?
just like the production value, the acting, the script were just not there in the same quality. I think it was like on Amazon Prime. Like they tried to launch it there, and it was like, no, not gonna happen.
Let me think of some other. There's got to be some other good games out there. I think RPGs would probably would be good. There's just a lot of. Mostly those are just fantasy games, though.
Yeah,
That's
man, I feel like it's just one of those blind spots for me where I can't easily recall a whole bunch of video games
Yeah,
as well as I could like TV shows.
I just mentally
The
start
formula.
looking at my stacks of video games
Yeah, I'm
that
like,
I have.
what have we played lately? Borderlands? Could Borderlands translate? I don't know.
What about Asura's Wrath? The Asura's Wrath TV show? Every week he's more pissed off than he was last week.
You know what? I think we need another animated Super Mario Brothers cartoon that's just garbage again.
You could probably make Tomb Raider into a pretty decent weekly television show.
Yeah.
You could do kind of high adventure stuff. You know, it's funny going back to what we were talking about in the intro. I'm really impressed with the amount of special effects they put into the Flash. Because that's a heavy superpower thing, and I think it's great that we're gotten to a point now where you can make a show that has heavy effects in it without breaking the bank, right? Is it you're not just going to be totally screwing everything up?
I feel like there's something that could be mined out of Portal. That game. I mean, you have these kind of clunky robots but you if you kind of expanded from just that one girl,
from
to a cast of people that are kind of trapped in these games, having to kind of work and collaborate to advance to another level, but at the same time make it kind of this like subversive comedy type aspect. I don't know.
Kind of like if Cube was a comedy.
Yeah, it's like
it was a weekly
Cube
TV show.
meets Better Off Ted or something like that.
Dude, I totally watched that show.
Right?
Oh, how good was Better Off Ted?
And maybe you just have people die, like, and it's just kind of like, they're disposable.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some other stuff. That's enough. That's enough for right now.
Stay tuned to TV Dudes. We'll probably have an article up.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Martin from Denmark emails us to say, "Dear Jeff and Grant, which of these do you hate the most in video games? Escort missions or puzzles/riddles? Personally, I despise both puzzles and riddles. Since I like to have fun with my game, I could spend minutes wondering about the right combination or solution, but I usually just look up the answer on a playthrough and go on with the game." And he says, "Skull." I think that's how he says that. It's got a thing over it that, as an American, I don't know what it is.
School.
Martin from Denmark. So, what do you hate worse, Grant? Escort missions?
Absolutely escort missions. Absolutely.
Really?
I love puzzles. I love puzzles in games. I prefer puzzle games usually.
Yeah?
I like playing puzzle games, and we don't often play puzzle games here on Rage Select.
You know why that is?
It does not make for good conversation on mic.
Well, it's also we've said it before, but it's worth saying again. I don't know what it is that making dick jokes and puzzles apparently requires the same part of your brain to operate at the same time. But like when a puzzle comes up in a game, it's like I can't keep talking, and I can talk. You know me. I don't ever shut the fuck up, man.
I don't think half the time you're listening to the things you say. You just say shit.
Yeah, I just got to get as much out there.
But you can't talk and do puzzles at the same time. I completely get it.
Our first sequential was going to be Portal 2. We had to stop because we couldn't think of the answers to the Portal puzzles and talk at the same time.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I don't like puzzles. I like some puzzles in games, but a lot of times...
but you'd take an escort over it.
I take an escort mission over a puzzle.
Jeff loves the escorts.
No, I really don't. Fortunately, BioShock Infinite and The Last of Us last year, both of those games were like, you're escorting somebody the entire time. Oh, but they're invincible. All right, that sounds all right. Like, I don't have any problem with that.
You don't have to worry about that shit. Yeah, keep them alive.
But there's nothing more frustrating to me in it. You know what? I don't necessarily dislike puzzle games. I dislike it when they shoehorn puzzles into other sorts of games, and especially
it doesn't seem to have a place. Yeah,
especially the mini game puzzles, right? Where they have these like tiny mini games to hack a door open or do a lockpick or that kind of thing. I don't like those very much.
Yeah.
I really like it when you can just hold down a button and open a door.
It's always weird, like you're playing some horror game, and all of a sudden the horror game will have a puzzle, and you're like, it doesn't seem like in the same theme. Also, I
can say that I'm generally speaking, escort missions have been doing nothing but getting better as years go by. But there are fewer things in video games that frustrate me as much as when I'm stuck with a puzzle, right? I can't figure out the answer to the puzzle, and you're just like flexing, trying to figure it, to brute force your way.
It's just one of those. I'd like to take some time, walk away, maybe take a day or two, think about it, and come back and like, I'm gonna figure this out.
I got time to take a break for a day or two.
I know it's not applicable to your method of play.
Yeah,
but my method of play, I very much like the puzzle challenge.
Yeah. All right. Next up, that was pretty short. Next up, this one is from Dan. This is another social question.
Okay,
Grant. Dan says, "Dear Jeff and Grant, this isn't a video game related question and doesn't have to be read on the podcast, but I hope at least take the time to read this email." He says, "Okay, we should still read this, though, right?" He says it doesn't have to be read on the podcast, but
it doesn't say don't read it on the podcast.
Don't read it on the podcast. Hey, Dan, if you didn't want this read on the podcast, sorry. I'm having a hard time socializing with people. I basically didn't talk to many people during my formative years, and now I've entered art school, and I've noticed I'm not very good at talking to people. Not in an introverted way. I'm very extroverted. However, I'm a jerk, brash, obnoxious asshole, a compulsive liar, I can only make jokes and people laugh, and I can't talk to anyone unless it's video game, comic, or anime related. How can I fix this? Normal conversation is lost on me, and I cannot small talk with anyone, so I have a hard time relating to people, even in a school filled with nerds and dweebs. I think that he said weebs. I don't know what that is. That may be something the kids say these days. I don't
Weeds?
know. Weebs. I think he means dweebs.
Probably dweebs.
That's the one you don't hear very often, right? Dweebs? You
Dweebs.
hear that one, all right?
I haven't heard in a while. Not since like the Wonka candy.
You're my only hope, blah, blah, Star Wars quote, Dan. I think that whenever I hear the word dweeb, I always think of Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, yeah, all the dweebs and
the dweebies, or just the dweebies and
the burnouts.
Yeah. Well, Dan, a lot of times when people send in these questions, Grant, I wish they would provide a little bit more information. Like, I want to know, we're going to assume Dan is around, like he said he's in art school, right?
I'm guessing he's in high school.
Well, it says he's entered art school. I'm going to think college age, like 18.
Either college age or he's in a specialized high school. I mean,
Okay,
those are
so
a lot
let's
more
say
common now.
between 16 and 18, right?
Yeah.
Well, first off, Dan, I'm going to tell you this right now. When you are a teenager, a lot of times you are just shit at talking to people, right? I mean, I was, I think.
Yeah, but social skills are very much a thing you can work on, and
Sure.
It's not an impossible thing to overcome. In fact, it's generally it can be fairly easy. It just might take some time. You have to actually put some time into it.
Sure. I mean, I think that maybe the first thing to do would be to look for any groups. I mean, he says, okay, you say you're brash and obnoxious and that you can't talk about anything but video games or anime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not to make fun of Dan, but I don't feel like we live in a world where it's very difficult to find brash, obnoxious people who want to talk about video games and anime, right?
Yeah, dime a dozen.
You're listening to a podcast right now that's based on being obnoxious talking about video games. Like, that's what we do here.
I think one of the most important things about being able to talk to other people is not actually talking, it's listening.
Yep.
That is so vital. And what you need to do is actually ask people questions and give a shit about what they have to say back.
Sure.
So, when you talk to someone, let them talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Be interested in what other people have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them follow-up questions. Act concerned. Remember the things that they say. Come back to them the next day and bring them back up and see if they're better with whatever. I mean, that's just a better thing to do in order to socialize with people.
Sure. Also, it's probably a good place to start. I mean, and I don't want to seem like we're like you don't have to jump immediately into having like boring small talk with other people.
I'm not saying just small talk, but
Right.
if you want to establish relationships beyond, I'm just the guy who makes jokes and then everyone just kind of laughs and walks away or whatever.
Right. Yeah, find some people who laugh at your jokes, and then find some people who laugh at your jokes and play video games or watch anime, or who are maybe interested in video games and or anime or art or whatever, and talk with them about those things. Take the things that you say in your email that you like to talk about and talk with other people about them and listen to their answers and, yeah, like you said, care about what they say.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was that she said. I wasn't listening at the time. I don't really... Sorry.
you son of a bitch. This is why you're terrible at this.
One time our editor told me there was a specific day where I was trying to look something up while Jason was saying something to me, and she said that I was acting like the DJ from Wayne's World 2. I was just going, uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
We can just say anything we want right here.
Yep. Uh-huh. Yep.
You monkeys fly out of your butt.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like, I mean, when I was a teenager, I was awkward. I didn't like talking to people. But what I did was I found my best friends from the time were like 2 or 3 people that we were intensely interested in kind of similar things.
Yeah, I was a little bit more. I wouldn't say outcast. I mean, I did art school at a different school. I didn't really have a whole lot of friends in classes, I guess, so much as I just hung out with some friends outside of it. And my socializing was I found other like activities to do outside of school with people that are kind of in my local neighborhood.
Yep.
Or if you're in college, you can join groups and go do whatever. Sign up for clubs.
Yep. The only thing I would
I
say
can do
is
that in high school too.
In your list of stuff, Dan, you do also say you're a compulsive liar. I would probably, that's one thing on there that you might want to try just to work on minimizing as much as, I mean, it depends on what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But like, if you're lying to try to manipulate people for any reason, that's probably going to be an impediment to socializing.
I mean, if your lies are obvious to the point where you don't have to say like, oh, I'm lying. Like,
Right.
oh man, I flew a car to school today.
Right.
That's a terrible example.
My uncle invented
But-
Starburst.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Then it's kind of like ha ha ha. He's just being silly. But
Right.
if you're just like lying for little gain, what are you doing?
Also,
Don't lie to people.
you know, the problem that you're talking about, go back and listen to Jason for the last 5 years and realize that there are plenty of people in this world that fit into this category that are great. So just talk to people and sorry, that
Jason will listen to anyone. Though.
No, I don't mean that to be mean or anything, but what I'm saying is that people like the show Archer, right?
Sure.
Archer is not a laudable character by default. He is a jerk. He is brash. He is a compulsive liar, but he's also very charming about all of that stuff and kind of has a heart at the end of the day. I'm
He
not
has a heart
saying
at the end of the day. I would never advocate to strive to be Archer. I think we're also supposed to think he's an asshole who's sort of friendless, except for that he forces himself into other people's lives and they can't get rid of him.
I guess. Yeah.
And he has some very good spy / killing skills.
Well, that's true. That's true.
I don't know.
All right. Well, hopefully we've given you something to go on, Dan.
This is something to think about.
Yeah. All right. We got a couple more questions, and then we're going to be done. And our first one comes in from Ernie, who says, "Hey guys, love the site. Been a listener since the days of the bar. This is my first time writing in to the show, so I spent a while thinking about a question. So here it is. I'm 15 and just started learning how to drive. Do you guys have any other car-related stories you'd like to tell? I remember Jeff's car story where he would accelerate and then hit the brakes at the last second. Yeah, don't do that. Hope you read my question, and all hail the dog lord, Ernie." So, were you on the air when
About first driving?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking this just as general driving stories.
These are dangerous.
Yeah.
It's always dangerous and shameful to go into driving stories like that. When I first got my license, the day I got my license,
Yeah.
I got to go grab my the car that was eventually going to be mine. It wasn't mine yet. I still earn it, whatever.
Right.
But I got to, my dad was like, "Go ahead, you can drive it around the neighborhood." And I got in it. I pulled up to the first intersection, and it's a manual. I stalled right in the middle of the intersection. All these cars were honking at me, and I said, "Oh God, what do I do? How do I restart it? Oh no!" And it was just I drove it, turned right back around, went right back home. I was like done in 3 minutes. I was like, I'm not going to drive that for a bit.
I like the fact that this must have been like the first or second time you drove a car that you stopped out in the middle of an intersection. People were honking at you, and you were like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God!" It's because after you've been driving for 10 years, you stall in the middle of the intersection. People honking. It's like, screw you, bud. Just
Fuck off, motherfuckers.
give me a second, all right?
Yeah.
Don't just fucking give
Not
me
a
second.
thing at all. Yeah,
Right.
it happens.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of crazy driving stories that I have. I mean, when I first started driving, I had a really bad habit of turning the wrong way down one-way streets. Before I learned, so in Austin downtown, like half the streets downtown are one way, and it's sometimes not entirely clear when you're first driving. I wasn't really familiar with the highway, so I would turn the wrong way on like an entrance ramp or something, and then it's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit.
Whoa. I recall when I was younger, just driving around the neighborhood really slow around my friends.
Yeah.
And I'd try and do like a Teen Wolf thing, which is fucked up. I had a sunroof though.
Oh.
And so I'd get the car rolling, and then I'd stand up and use my foot on the steering wheel and poke my head out and put my head up on top and just let it cruise and roll down the street.
Yep.
Not a good idea, by the way.
I am not advocating this at all. You should never do it ever in the history of your life. Let's just say that. That's for everything. That's for everything that we're saying here right now, right?
Don't do as we did.
Don't do these things. But
It's our jackass disclaimer at the front.
how long? Okay, it's that thing.
How long can you close your eyes and drive?
No, in the middle of the night when you're on the road with no lights on it, and you turn off your
that
headlights with the windows down, and see how long you can go.
I've known a couple kids that died that way.
Yeah.
So it's not a good thing to do.
10 seconds solid was what I managed to get, but that's some scary shit right there. Like, that's some scary shit. Do not do this, people. Do not do this. It's incredibly dangerous. I used to know a girl though who
We're
had
gonna get sued now.
No, we're not gonna get sued. Nobody's gonna do that. Plus, that's not a thing that we made up. We're not telling them. Anybody could have. I mean, nobody told me about turning your lights off in the middle of the night. I was driving the car with my friend, and he was like, "How long do you think we could drive without the lights off?" And I was like, "Oh shit, I never thought about that before." Like,
no, I remember like a couple different kids around my neighborhood died because they'd turn off the lights.
Yeah.
When they're driving down like these dirt roads, and they'd run into some like serious thing that'd stab right through the window to kill them or whatever. And it's like, they didn't have their lights on. And
Yep.
It was like, don't be dumb if you want to just like keep living to an older age.
Yeah.
Don't do dumb things. It's really not that hard. The bragging rights don't outweigh living long time.
Yeah. I'd like to say that I know. How old was this gentleman?
15.
He says he's 15. Like, you're still in that place where you think you're invincible. When you get your car, you will be radically disabused of this notion. Hopefully.
And while we're on the scared of what we've just said track, I would say look at some statistics for the age of people who die in cars.
Yes.
Because you're in that age range.
Yep.
And that's because
you be careful.
We do dumb stuff like that.
Also, look, seriously, like I don't feel like I should. This guy's 15. I'm saying this. I feel like most people already know this, right?
Yeah.
But Ernie, you just getting your driver's license. You make yourself a pledge right now. Don't dick with your phone while you're driving. Just don't do it. Just like the statistics for people getting in accidents, it's like 60% of accidents happen because people are just fucking with their phone.
Especially as a new driver. I mean, I feel like you want to do it anytime.
Yeah.
But your odds are even worse then. I mean, you're just learning how to drive. You have like so many new experiences of like, it's not even you. It's not you and your own skills.
Right.
It's you having to deal with every other fucking terrible asshole driver out there.
Yep.
And I hate drivers.
Yeah.
I hate drivers. I now drive like an old lady.
Me too.
I cruise at like 20 miles an hour wherever I'm going. I'm like, yeah, honk at me behind me, Allison. I know I'm driving slow.
I'm glad I work from home and that I drive from here to like the burger place once a day. Like,
that's it, man.
And pick up a video game. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any. I tried to. No, that's not even a very good story. Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
One time I was driving to California, and I was moving. I was moving to Washington, and I was driving across West Texas, and between the Nevada and California border, there's this checkpoint, right? Mm-hmm. So when I was moving, I had this giant duffel bag, like the size you could put a person in. It had all my worldly possessions in it that I was moving from.
Did you have a person in there?
I did not.
Oh. Okay.
But I stopped at this checkpoint, and there was like this it was just the middle of the desert. There's nobody else on the road. This checkpoint. One cop, and he walks up to my car, and he's like, "Are you transporting any fruits or vegetables?" And I was like, "No." It's like, "Do you have any plants with you in the car?" I was like, "No." He's like, "All right, go." And it occurred to me after I drove away that bag could have been full of every fruit that mankind has ever created,
fruit and plants,
and potting soil to grow it with. And like the guy just took me at my word. It was like, this isn't a very good checkpoint. I've got one really suspicious looking bag in my back seat.
Like, I do have a dead body in there.
Yeah, like, and he was like, well, I mean, he never even said, well, what's in the bag? And it'd be like, well, everything I own, right? But
I mean, it's just generally one of those things, I guess. Most people aren't like that dude in that last email. Most people kind of tell the truth about these things.
I guess it just seemed like weird to set up this whole checkpoint and then just ask me a yes or no question.
I love so much that last question we just got, the car thing, because we're all like, oh, I have this, I don't want to tell it. Oh, I feel so uncomfortable about this car story.
I have this great story. Nobody should ever hear it.
Yeah, it's
yeah. I used to my first car. I drove the hell out of that thing. I used to like try to go intentionally fast over like road humps in neighborhoods just to bounce up and down.
Yeah. You want to have the Dukes of Hazzard,
right?
Thing.
Yep. All right, we got one last question, and I only pulled this one up because I've got a good answer, but I want to hear your answer. Grant.
Okay.
This is from Carlos. Carlos says, "Hey guys, what is a costume that will guarantee some ass? P.S. I'll be in Austin Halloween weekend. I would love to buy you guys a drink or four." I don't know if I'm doing anything for Halloween this year, Grant. It's a very fragmented thing this year. But I don't know. We'll see. But do you have a costume? Guaranteed ass?
You know those mammogram machine costumes? Just be like a butt sniffing costume. It's like
what are you talking about?
You never seen those mammogram things? You're like in a box and it says on the outside mammogram machine. Put your boobs here. And you have this little hole cut out so that ladies can put their boobs in there and you can like inspect them for them.
Oh, so your hands are inside of the box?
It's a complete douchebag outfit.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess. And
how would you drink?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a dumb costume.
Okay.
But you can put that one of those with a butt. And then you get the butt pushed up against you.
Butt inspector?
I guess they mean sexually. Like, how can I get laid?
Oh, you were guaranteed ass. Okay. You were going at that in a really like literal way that I didn't understand.
Yeah, I mean like people can put their butt into his costume.
You were giving this guy a game plan for how he could actually feel on some asses.
I thought.
Right? No, that's Jason's getting laid vernacular is guaranteed ass. Okay, I'll tell you this right now. Dress up like a priest. Dress up like a priest, and if you're even moderately good looking, that's a guaranteed ass right there.
Yeah.
All of those slutty schoolgirls,
They want to flirt with the priest.
they want to sit on your lap. One Halloween, I bought, like, it was the cheapest priest. Well, actually, somebody else loaned it to me. It was like one of those terrible, like, it's just a one piece made out of that horrible, stretchy bullshit.
Tearaway
Yeah.
for stripper priests.
Zipped up in the back and had the habit, or no, the little white thing that was, like, built into the collar. Just a one-piece robe, right? Looked like shit.
Yeah.
We went to this party, and I got, like, super wasted. And then we went downtown. We were in a bar, and I was sitting down because I was so drunk I thought I was going to throw up and pass out. And, like, 3 times, women walked up to me, sat down in my lap, and said, I want to confess my sins. And I was so drunk that I couldn't flirt with them or do it. I was just, like, I was getting ready to throw up and die, right? But, like, I've never had...
All right, you need to do 10 Hail Marys and 1 blowjob right here.
I mean, like, I feel like this was...
And you point at your crotch.
Is that what you do?
You point at your shirt that says the man, the legend, and
Right.
the legend out of your arrow.
So you wear the cross that has the arrow on the bottom of it that points down towards your crotch. But yeah, I've never had as much attention as that year that I dressed up.
That's a great answer, actually.
Yep.
I mean, something that where someone wants to challenge the purity or whatever of your costume.
It's actually, I've been thinking, because there's a place here in town where you can go buy like an actual like habit or an actual like priest robe.
Yeah.
They cost about $350. I'm just going to go buy one of those and then wear it every Halloween. Be like Ron Swanson. No, this is my Halloween costume. This is the costume I wear on Halloween every year. But no, I'm serious about that.
Yeah, I can't recall anything else of mine that's ever been sexy to anyone else. I once went as Gigolo Mario.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was Mario, and I slowly stripped down to just my mustache, gloves, and a little pair of hot shorts.
Yeah.
And that seemed to drive people away.
Or you could just go to the spirit store, right, and just buy the sexy fill-in whatever blank costume for the women, and then just wear that, right?
Wear it as a dude, yeah.
Wear it as it is. And, people, there's going to be some women out there who are just going to be like, that is hilarious.
Or you might get a dude who thinks you're actually really sexy. You can get his ass.
You said guaranteed ass. You didn't specify the gender. Hey.
I feel like yours is good either way, though.
Yeah.
Like, either gender, if that's what you're pursuing. If you're a dude, you want to get other dudes, they probably also sit on your lap.
Oh, yeah, sure.
All around a good call.
Priest costume. All right, and that is our show for the week.
There we
folks,
go.
If you would like to mail in your question, mail@rageselect.com is the email address. It's mail@rageselect.com. Please do not send your questions to any other address, just that address. So, yeah, are you ready? We're going to get some nachos, right?
We're going to get some nachos?
Let's go get some nachos, Grant.
Let's go dress up as priests and get some nachos.
Let's get some priest outfits and some nachos and turn the headlights off, and we'll just drive until the nachos are gone.